Today is Wednesday, July 19th. Markets are currently off to a green start with Tesla going up. QQQ trading at almost 387, which was yesterday's peak. SPY currently trading for 455, a new high this morning. The Dow Jones DIA currently at a new high, and we're seeing the Russell 2000 almost at 200, 197 up 0.4%, Q's up 0.3, Dow up 0.3, and SPY up 0.25. So good day for the markets, especially on Tesla, up 0.75%, even higher than yesterday's close, which was really good. Currently trading at 295 and change, right before their earnings, which is going to be today after hours. That'll definitely throw us in a loop one way or another. Let's see what's moving. I was looking at a meta trade this morning since it was trading at 315, and the supply zone ended up getting rejected. Of course, not in that range anymore. Well, let's look through the tech watch list, see if we can find any opportunities today. Microsoft really had a big rally yesterday. They had an announcement with Meta announcing a new AI effort with Llama 2. So their stock ended up going from 344 to 355 in just a matter of like 20 minutes, and then squeezed all the way up to 367 at the peak. Google trading in this range to the upside and breaking up. Let's see, let's extend this to the right today. Might actually have a long opportunity in Google here at 125. There we go. And starting at the bottom of the range right now, right in the middle of it. So we'll look for a Google call today. Let's see what strike prices we can pick from that are good. The 125 call is actually decently cheap. Right now at 130 a piece. Low in at 107 from the bottom here. I think I want to buy just two for right now. $125 is a decent price. All right, got in at 122 on that 125 Google call. All right, currently at 116. And this one I think can go either way at this point. Let's see. Definitely more calls and puts here. 112 versus 600 in volume. 17,000 calls in open interest in 6,600. So about 3 times as many calls to puts, which should help us to the upside. Right now they're going for 112, 115. All right, I think I'll get a third one here at 111. Maybe cheaper. 109. So now I got 3 of them open, going just outside of our range to the downside. and back into it right now. Probably gonna get some good volatility this first 10 minutes, so we'll hold through it. But we got 3 of them, 122, 2 at 122, 1 at 109. 122 times 2 plus 109, 353 for 3, for an average cost at 117. Good morning, Jesse. Yep, today is the day we've all been waiting for, Tesla earnings. It will be a fun day, to say the least. Very volatile, I'm assuming. Markets pulling back. Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, and Meta, all 4 in the red right now. Not really down too much. Nvidia only down 0.8%, being the worst of the bunch. Meta trading for 133 and pulling back off of 134. Google trying to get back into range here. Still trading right below it. And Tesla's doing the best, up 0.75% for right now. Peaking at about 297 and pulling back to 295.5. Carvana is up 40%. So they had their earnings report. They actually delayed their earnings report. It's supposed to be yesterday. They ended up delaying it to this morning. They posted, let's see, negative 112. Oh, that was the estimate. What is the actual? That's weird. I thought they already had it. Maybe it's delayed another day. Google just popped back off a little bit there. Yeah, so they were supposed to report, I think, yesterday after hours or this morning, and now it's delayed until August 3rd is what I'm seeing for the new one. Interesting. All right, Google going back up. Currently at a small profit for these calls, trading for 120. I bought them at 117 average. And they went all the way up to 143, the peak, when we were trading outside of the range to the upside at 125.20. Yeah, it's kind of weird how Carvana is getting so volatile even though they didn't really post the earnings. But they're trading a little bit above where they started. I mean, it was trading at 42. They went to 60 somehow. I would imagine they're probably going to pull back into yesterday's range since they didn't actually post anything, would be my guess. All right, Google trying to hit 125, very, very close to it. And hopefully we can get a continuation on the squeeze at 125. Again, there's 17,000 in open interest, 6,000 for the puts. And the volume is 1,300 versus 200 puts. So there's a lot of volume compared to the puts, a lot of open interest compared to the puts, which I'm really liking for right now. And trading right at 125. So I'm hoping if we can get over 125, then we can get a squeeze out of this. We started over 125 at the peak this morning at 125.23, but we didn't hold it, so we'll have to watch and see. That is not what I need.
Just open to neutral.
All right, there we go. Breaking out of the range to the upside just a little bit. We did break it to the downside first. Contracts are going for 131 now, 133. Almost to the peak this morning at 143. Hopefully we get a good rally out of it. Let's chart where it might end up peaking at 125.50 maybe from a couple of days ago. It went all the way to 127. So that could be a resistance right there at 125.50, I'm guessing. That would be our first resistance to run into. Let's check on the hourly chart. Contracts are going for 147 now. Another resistance maybe at 125.80. And then you should get some resistance if we can make it all the way up there at 126.60. That would be a pretty big move to the upside, but let's watch. Contracts are trading at 158, just dropped to 144 real quick. And bouncing right off of that 125.50 level first. Sharp pullback from there. Google has been trading flat for the past month. Yeah, it's been very choppy, I would say. It's got that support from yesterday down at about 123.30, which I'm liking. And then right now it should gain this support at 125, I'm guessing. So now we need to see 125.50 and above. And then your next levels are going to be at 126 and change, 126.66. And it is one of the top performers, top two today. Amazon up 1.5%, squeezing up a little bit at 135 almost. And again, Google trading right at 125, getting rejected first from that 125.50. But it looks like demand for these options is actually pretty good on Google, since the contract prices are still up even on this drop. 2,000 in volume, 300 for the puts, 17,000 open interest, 6,000 for the puts. So still looking pretty good, I think. Getting back into our box just slightly right now. at 125. Sorry, 124.90 is the level, I think. Hopefully we don't just get the chop back and forth, but wouldn't be too shocked. Right now we're getting, hopefully this is a higher low. First low in at 124.25. Is Microsoft giving us another possible entry? Microsoft did really well yesterday, but I think it might have ran up a little too high for my taste. It was up like 4% in a matter of just a couple hours, so very, very squeezy. It could keep going. Right now it's at 360. Let's check the volume. Volume for calls is still very high for the 360 strike price. Nobody buying in the money though, so that's a little bit concerning for me. And then open interest is high for the 360 strike. The highest at 345. So I think there's a better chance maybe that ends up pulling back than continuing the upside. There's a drop in open interest and volume, pretty steep drop in both of those. So I think 360 could be a pivot level, maybe to the downside. But I don't want to trade that one right now. A little too crazy. All right, here we go with Google right back in the middle of our range. Pulling back pretty hard from that 125.50 resistance down to 124.50 now. RSI is still above 50, so it still has some strength to it, but yeah, definitely not the same as it was up there at 125.50. Amazon's still doing hot right now. 1.7% for the day, up at 135.10. I think there's a lot of volume for the 135s. Yeah, 19,000 in volume, 40,000 open interest, so that should cause a squeeze to the upside above 135. The open interest and volume does drop very steep there, so that might end up going either way, but right now markets are pushing up. Q's up 0.2% for the moment at 386, but pulling back from 387.38. And Google going right back to the bottom at 124.35 at the low. Contracts are going for 111 now. Got in at 117. And they went all the way to 158 at the peak before a pullback from that resistance at 125.50. Holding Tesla during earnings. I was thinking about taking profits on some of my shares because I know that I'm up like 100% or so. Buying them at 145. And my guess, Tesla's probably going to go down for the earnings just because it's had this ginormous rally for the past month, mostly based on options, lots of call options getting bought. So, we kind of break that cycle of people just buying calls that are out of the money because they have bad earnings, fundamentals are changing, then I think that there's a good chance that Tesla ends up coming down for the earnings report. Ideally, I would like to see this fill in the gap where we saw it right here, where it was at 265 and then gapped all the way up to 275. We almost filled that gap in, but not quite. So I would like to see that filled. But that is about a 10% drop from where it's trading right now. Implied volatility for Tesla ahead of this earnings report is actually relatively low compared to past earnings. The last 3-4 earnings, this is the lowest that we've seen. So options on it are fairly cheap for an earnings report. So if it does move more than, say, 10%, then you could actually make money either way. Bought in at 134. Very nice. I think that's my average cost, roughly. It's like I think it's 140. And I have 30 or so shares on it. I used to have a lot more, but I was selling June of last year because of the way that the Fed was acting. All right, Google, let's get a move here. Catching the lows again, 124.35. All right, I'm gonna snag one more of these. $107. I cannot type though. All right, so I got 2 at 122, 1 at 109, 1 at 107. That is not the right math. 122 times 2 plus this, 460 over 4. So 4 for an average cost of 115. Hoping we can get back to the upper end of the range, which ought to put these at about 130 or 135. Let's see, Q's still up 0.17%, so not really doing too much just yet. Kind of finding itself in a range very similar to what Google is doing. Tesla at 297, almost getting to that 300 mark. That could end up being a squeeze before earnings. That would be Very interesting. Right at break even for those contracts on Google. I might end up closing half the position or two of them if we hit 125, and then hold the other ones to see if we go back to that 125.50 level. But yeah, feeling pretty good about the average cost of them. The lowest that they've gone this morning was $100 each. So if they go back to the lows, we lose about 60. If we can manage all the way back to the highs at 158, I'm not sure how likely that would be. But that would be, let's see, 115.40 times 4, 160 profit if we can manage ourselves back to 125.50 resistance. But right now we're just chopping around. Q's doing the same old thing. Right now we're kind of stuck in the high 124s, 124.75 at the moment. Nvidia coming down pretty sharp. That 480 level almost was a resistance, similar to what it was before. Apple pulling off from 194 yesterday, so the 195 level was close. Netflix pulling off 485 almost. Microsoft pulling back this morning from 360 to 359, so not much change there. Looks like Meta's coming back into the range. That 315 level was a resistance this morning, so we'll see if that acts again. Amazon pulling back from 135.5. So we're seeing more names pulling back right now, and Google just trading flat. So maybe we don't see the squeeze above 125 unless the rest of the market can push to the upside. Yeah, I think we're just finding ourselves in this range for Google. But if we can top the range at 124.90, then we might get that squeeze like we did before. But right now we're just kind of flattening out thanks to the Qs. We're seeing some mixed markets for the big tech names this morning. Nvidia being down the worst, only 0.8%, so it's not really too much to the downside compared to the upside, 1.4% for Amazon, 1% for Tesla. We are having some back and forth in the big names today. Debating if you go Tesla in your closing of the midday. I bought mine yesterday. Poor timing on it because I went on puts. But I do think Tesla's more likely to pull back. I would probably say, let's see, the closer that you can get it to 300, if you're going to bet on the downside, the better, the cheaper, obviously. Right now it's trading at 296. It ended up peaking just a couple minutes ago at 297.5. So maybe that's your peak for the day, but right now you're still seeing it trading higher. So if you see catching support here, I would try to buy puts again as close to 300 as you can. And then if it goes above 300, do like a day trade on calls just in case you do get that squeeze. That's how I would trade it. All right, Google back above 124.90, back to the top of the range, back and forth. Let's see if it'll squeeze over 125 here. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I was crying over that trade. Not really. But sad that we let it go as early as we did. I opened at, I think, first thing in the morning, like first 15 minutes in this range. Ended up getting stopped out since it went all the way down to 342. And then they had, again, that AI news I was talking about this morning. So there was just a huge flood of volume that came in. It was actually before the news came out, like a couple minutes before. So I wonder if somebody had that information and traded it before it. But yeah, that ended up sending it up a shit ton. All right, Google getting rejected at the top of the range again. Come on, Google. Let's do something here. It's slightly higher on the lows, but I would say that's too close to say it's higher lows. It does look bullish. It's at 60 on the RSI, which I like. But so far we just got this small little range it's been in. 124.30 to right now at 125. Hopefully we can get a higher low here and confirm that uptrend. Looks like we bought it like right in the middle where these contracts are averaging at 115. High is at 125, 130, and then obviously that 125.50 level was at 160. So maybe we can take profits somewhere in the middle between the previous highs, 130, 125, and 158. So maybe at like 140, I think could be a good price to exit. But obviously we got to go up from here, find this low. How does it feel when I miss out on an opportunity? An opportunity like Microsoft yesterday, that definitely kind of burns, because I got burned both ways. Traded both calls and puts. So that one was pretty damn painful. But, you know, it's hard to spot that kind of opportunity before it happens. It was a news event, so it's no real predicting that was going to happen. So you just kind of have to shrug it off. But yeah, that would have been like a $2,000 or $3,000 trade. What do I predict for SPY today? Trading at 456, up 0.4%, so it's doing pretty well in the green. Qs is very flat, but Dow is up 0.7, Russell is up 0.6, so you don't need the Qs to go up, but that would help SPY out to maybe see like 458 today if Qs were to go up. If we do see a rally for the big tech names, that would be ideal for SPY and help it to squeeze here. Let's see where the options are at. For today's expiration, we got a lot of 456 calls, 100,000, 75,000 at the 457, drops down at 459 to 19,000. So I think that might be where we could peak today at 459 for SPY. Unless, again, if you get QQQ going up, maybe if Qs is doing really well, you could see 460. But right now for the Qs, you're just seeing a split. Some names doing pretty well. Some names in the red. Nvidia's down 1%. That's actually pretty decent downside. If the markets are kind of chopping around, we could take a put for Meta here. Ride that to the downside. It went as low as 310.50 this morning. So we'll add that to watch. Right now trading for 210. The highest they went on that low is 385. So lots of upside for that trade if it does come all the way back down. I would probably want to take profits at like 250 though, where it kind of flattened out. There's a pretty decent amount of upside too at 316.25. That's where I would cut losses. Currently trading at 314, so that's about double the delta. Which for this option, let's see where delta is. I would imagine it's pretty low since it's somewhat out of the money, -31, so we lose 60. On the downside, and maybe make up to 50, so I don't really like the risk reward for the trade. I feel like this Google call has a better risk reward on it. Tesla is still up 1%. 296 seems to have caught a higher low at 295.15. So again, the way that I would trade this ahead of earnings, right now I have a put for after earnings, but if you do manage to get all the way to the 300 level, I'll probably take a day trade on calls. Google back to the bottom of our range. Calls trading for 105. Still holding on here. Don't want to see us under the lows at 124.30. So hopefully we get some support off of this range. Get our way back to the upside, but volume has definitely fallen off from where we peaked. I would want to buy another one, but already got a decent amount of risk on the trade. We're right at the lows again. Breaking down. Maybe we can hedge with some puts. Again, this was one that could have gone either way, so let's get the 124 puts. A couple of them. No, just bounced right under the low. At 124.17. So still kind of chopping around, but we are seeing a little bit more to the downside now. All right, we'll buy one. 109. Bought a Goog 124 put at 109. All right, and reversing back to the upside there. Let's see, the lowest that these went was 83 when we were at the top of our range. So we get back there, we lose 30, but we should make more from this. We bought these at 115, so we should make 60. Yes, I am. Switching it to a cash account though, so I can make as many day trades as I want. Amazon's pulling back. It was up 1.7, now only up 1.3. Double top at 135.30. Meta pulling back too, right inside of this range. Google's still chopping around though. Why not switch to a cash account? Just haven't done it yet. I started trading with this one like yesterday, so gotta call them up for that. But right now we got a lower low for Google, lower highs, so a downtrend seems to have started here. Yeah. That's the ideal setup. That way you can trade both credit spreads, debit spreads, and you can still do day trades with regular calls and puts if you want. All right. Alright, back in the middle of our range again, 124.60. Contracts are going for 95 from 109 when we got them. Q's is still flat. It's a very similar chart, I think, to what Google is doing. You got that lower low, and you got that peak in the first 15 minutes. Both charts look very similar. Meta's kind of trading in this range too. Support at 13.70, resistance right now for 14.75. It's about $1 range on Meta, with the volume slowing down too. Can you trade vertical for a cash count? You can, but you need enough cash to cover the collateral. So if you don't have hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars for trades like Meta, Google, then you won't be able to do that with a cash count. You need a margin account and level 3 options trading for it. It usually settles the next day, next morning. Alright, looks like we got another lower high. Looking to be the start of a downtrend. Let's check out the hourly. Pretty flat here. It had some upside on that first 15 minutes, but then pulled back off of that resistance that we talked about at 125.50. Where's RSI at? 50, so this could go either way in terms of strength. Same for the 5-minute chart too. Right at 50 on the RSI. So no clear direction here. Kind of just trading flat so far. Q's is actually managing to go up a little bit. Up 0.2%. Kind of back in the middle of its range too. So I guess QQQ is just going to kind of perform, or sorry, Google is going to perform average today. Amazon's still headed up at 135. Could maybe run into resistance up here like before at 125.30, but too close to call there. Okay. So yeah, just kind of not moving for Google. Got some speed on Amazon to the upside. Kind of slowing down too. Let's see, the volume is low in, going lower. Meta pulling back down off of its range at almost 315. Q's up 0.25% now. So yeah, this is actually getting a decent reversal started. Finding the lows at 385.82. Let's see where the options are at for Q's. Volume is popular for the 387s. Closest strike price out of the money for calls. Pretty typical there. But it slows down at the 389 strike price. Only 15,000 of those and 10,000 of the 390, so the people aren't too bullish on it today with a slow start. Let's see where the bears are at. And it's actually same amount of puts at the 386 as we see at the 387 calls. Open interest does seem to be a bit more elevated for puts, especially with that 383 level, but that's still $3 down, or about 1%. Nvidia is recovering from its lows too, just under 470. So we're seeing a small recovery for some names. Google's still trying to head down. Contracts for the puts are going for 102. We got them at 109. Back to 124.30, which was our previous support level. So if I hit an 11, let's see where it's at. Yeah, 994 right now, so almost 10. All right, my puts are going back for 107, 109 for the ask. So we're recovering there. Google's still up on the day, 0.14%, so not much. Finding the lows again at 124.20. I would say this is a start to a decent downtrend though. You got the lower high, lower high, lower high, lower lows twice. RSI is getting weaker at 46. Qs is getting weaker, only up 0.12%, so halving its gains. All right, I think I'll get another one of these puts. But they are kind of ranging like Google is with the share price. Go all in on buying Tesla calls right now. So I'll tell you a story. When I first started trading, it wasn't when I first started trading, but about 6 months into trading options, I was buying call debit spreads before Tesla's battery day, thinking that it was going to go up like 10, 20%. Outlandish. Because I thought this was going to be revolutionary. And if you were trading back in 2020, you know that Tesla didn't really do well on battery day. It actually ended up dropping about 15%. So what I did is I ended up buying about $12,000 worth of call debit spreads, assuming that it would go up 15% or so. Didn't go up, obviously. And I ended up losing that $15,000 that I put down. So I would not go full port, personally. Now, if you are feeling a little bit risky, I would say something like, depending on how much money you have, obviously, like 10%, 20% of your account. If you have $1,000, it's like 100 or 200. But if you have like a $100,000 or $1 million account, obviously your risk is way, way higher. So what I would suggest, don't put all your money into it, because chances are it could go in your favor, but it's kind of like a lottery ticket. And you can't focus on how much money you are going to make or you could make. You got to focus on how much money you could lose, I would say. Bullish or bearish? I'm bearish on Tesla for earnings. Let's start a poll, see how y'all feel about it. How will engage Q&A? How will Tesla go on earnings? Start Q&A. That's not the right thing. My bad. Poll. That's what I need. How will Tesla go on earnings? We'll do green or red. You remind me to set my stops. Good. What's the reason behind it? So, reasoning behind it, markets have mostly been driven by options as of lately. A lot of call options just getting bought out of the money every single week, which has led to a mechanically driven rally where the market makers just keep having to cover for selling those 100 shares since they're selling you a call option. So they keep having to buy more and more and more of Tesla. But I think once earnings comes out, we'll switch to either a more fundamental market, because this is going to be a fundamental change, whether or not Tesla is going to post really good earnings or not, or we should switch to a technical market. So technically, I think we should probably fill in the gap, which is down to 265, which we had that huge jump from 265 all the way to 280, right? So my guess, Tesla has a bad earnings report, probably not going to be really bad. My guess is that it's just not going to be a record like everybody usually expects out of a Tesla earnings report. And the last time that they did that, I think their stock ended up dropping about 10%. So if it does drop about 10%, we would be close to filling in that gap. And the 270 puts are actually pretty popular. I think they're the most popular puts available for this week. Yeah, 52,000 in open interest, 32,000 in volume, and nothing compares to that. So everybody's going for that 270 mark. So if we do end up going from a mechanical market driven by everybody buying call options to now a fundamental market, then we would get back to 265 if it's a bad report. Now, obviously, I could be wrong. It's a 50-50 chance. But we'll have to see. All right, looks like we ended up getting rejected at 124.50, right at the bottom of that range. Again here. Bullish for Netflix earnings. Netflix, I haven't developed a thesis on earnings yet. This is kind of the same thing though. Like, it's just been a lot of call options getting bought out of the money. I don't think it's as bad as Tesla has been. Let's see, it's gone from $411 to $480, so $70 over a $400 stock. 17% versus Tesla has gone from 240 to almost 300. 300 over 240. Oops. It's like 25%. So Tesla has had a bit more of a squeeze than what we've seen for Netflix. Tesla is a sexier stock to trade options on just because it is more volatile than something like Netflix. So I do think Tesla will come down. Netflix, not too sure on. Both of these stocks are nearly as close to their all-time highs, though, as the other names in this list right here, the big tech names. So there's a potential that they could head higher, but I don't think that this earnings season is going to fare well given how much we've gone up for the past, month, couple of months, year to date. Take a look at Square, SQ. Square's been doing pretty well the past month too, up 65 to 80. Very hot RSI 73 on the daily chart. Resistance just above us between 80 to 83, maybe 84. So you might get a pullback. Earnings is going to be in 2 weeks on August 3rd. If you do want to short it though, I would probably wait until it's closer to 84. Just so you're limiting your risk a little bit more by buying the puts a bit cheaper. Close the spread 2 days to expiration to prevent max loss for closing credit spreads partly in the money. So credit spread loses on expiration when it's in the money. You lose your max loss. So do I recommend closing it 2 days before expiration? It really depends on the stock, I guess, and direction of a stock, direction that you choose for your credit spread. But let's see. Happened to you twice. Spread 2 days to expiration to prevent max loss. And then it turned around. Yeah, I mean, markets can turn around at any point. There's no real saying when they will pivot. What I would suggest is just marking levels, especially with credit spreads, marking levels where the stock could end up having a reversal. So like I do with Google this morning, since it's trading flat, it's kind of just in the middle of my levels, right? Between 124.50 or so and 125. So say if I had a call credit spread on this, assuming that it's going to stay under 125, I would probably want to cut losses right before it hits that, right at the top of my range. That way I know that I'm not going to take my max loss if it's above 125. And then say I had a put credit spread, I'd probably want to take the trade off at 124.40 or 124.50. Obviously, like today, he would have had both of those, but really depends on how the stock is moving. Like if this were to have actually held that 125 level, you would definitely want to be out of that call credit spread, assuming under 125. Today, Tesla earnings come out today after hours at 4 o'clock. Actually, it'll probably be like 4:05, 4:15. They're usually like 5, 10, 15 minutes late. Yeah, no problem. Glad I could help out. 69% of people are saying that Tesla is going to be green for earnings. 31% saying red. So I'm guessing y'all are the people that are buying these 300 calls. But yeah, Tesla's trading close to that 300 mark. Almost. Again, I would say if it is trading above 300, I would want to take a day trade, close that before their earnings today. Because you will get a decent squeeze over 300, I think, given that there's 60,000 in open interest, 40,000 almost in volume. So between that, about 100,000 calls at the 300 level. So I would take a day trade if it's above 300, just in case you get that squeeze. All right, Google, let's see it. It's a decent sized green candle started. And QQQ is actually up 0.4% now, so this should help. Wow, Q's getting a decent squeeze here, right above the highs. Am I predominantly options, or did I start out being an options trader in the beginning? No. In the beginning, I was a long-term investor. I think I invested in like GoPro as my first stock that I ever bought, which was a terrible investment 6 years ago. I would say probably if you want to become a trader, definitely start with stocks, because with options trading, you have to learn all about the Greeks and how that can affect your options. You have to understand how the time decay works with it. Obviously, like, you're not going to get as big of returns. Those can be positive and negative returns. That's why I'm saying returns, not profits. You're not going to get as big of returns with trading just regular stocks as you will with options, because they are leveraged. But at least you can kind of get a feel for, how the markets move, watching the trading action each day. I would say start with stocks, start very little, and, you might not make a ton of money. in the beginning, but then once you start trading options, then you will get those larger returns that you're looking for. And maybe like starting with what's it called, paper trading account whenever you start trading options, just in case, you know, shit hits the fan on a couple of options. You don't want to lose your whole portfolio on it. Yeah. Time of day best to trade options. I would say first 30 minutes generally is the best, just because you're going to get the most amount of volatility. That can also go against you. But if your trade goes for you, obviously you can make a lot more. I would say have a stop loss in place just in case the trade does start to go against you. Alright, we're seeing Google pulling back from 124.70. That would be another lower high too. Still kind of finding itself in the range though. So just going back and forth, but mostly to the downside for Google today. Wish we could have taken profits up here, but thought we might go past 125.50. Let's see, Amazon still trading at the highs from before, kind of stalling out here, but it does have higher lows, higher lows. Not yet a higher high though. And Microsoft just kind of chilling at 360 for the moment. Down to 357, bouncing right off of that. So that's probably why you're getting Qs up today. 0.4%. Yeah, plenty of videos to watch through. Do I trade smaller hot stocks like Palantir Neo? No. Not a fan of those just because the prices are so low and the delta, like you have to buy a lot of the options in order to get decent returns, so that can kind of screw you up, like if you're buying 10 at a time or whatever. So I'd much rather buy like a few of these 125 Google calls or a couple of the 124 puts, not have to deal with buying 10 Neo, just because they are way more volatile than what you'll get for Google and all the big tech names, unless it's something like Tesla, of course. That one's a wild card and can go up freaking 4%, 5% in a day, no problem. But yeah, still holding on to the puts and the calls for Google, still trading flat. Let's see, I might have to lower my take profit for these. Maybe down to 130 instead of 115 or 140. And those puts kind of just going back and forth. Both of these options just going back and forth with the back and forth trading action. But I'm liking how Qs is up, so I'm thinking this could be more bullish. But do want to have that hedge just in case we do keep coming down with this trading action a little bit more bearish. What move do I think Tesla will make? I think it'll probably fall about 8 to 10%. Will be my guess. So my guess is 265 or so. But yeah, that's all the trades I got today. Still holding on to them, and I will catch y'all tomorrow at 9:30. See you, everybody. Have a good day.